is yours, Mr. Moderator.
Hepinize iyi günler, afiyet olsun.
Good day to everyone. Hopefully after lunch you will be able to keep up with us. And hopefully it will be an enjoyable session for you too. We have really valuable speakers. I would like them to introduce themselves, please. And before that, I would like to remind you that there are going to be 2 rounds where I won't be speaking a lot in the first round. We will have PTT, Sütaş, and P&G representatives talking about their products and services. And in the second round of this session, we are going to have 2 foreign speakers who will inform us about social innovation. If we are able to do this, I would like to spare the last 10 minutes for an interactive session to see whether you have any questions for us, for the panelists. The topic is new generation innovation. Let's say next gen innovation. It is going to be an intrinsic topic. Well, during my last visit to USA, they brought me to a Brazilian meat restaurant. On our way back with my dear friend Orhan, we went for a coffee. While having our cups of coffee, we were talking about how our kebabs would succeed over these Brazilian grills any day. We were talking about this Iskender kebab. Some child was eavesdropping and asked us about what Iskender was. We told him about it and how delicious it was. So that kid, by the way, was working at that coffee place on a topic of innovation. So we listened to him about what he did. From what I saw there, it was a lifestyle for him. Well, this aside, let's start with our panelists. I don't want to take too much of your time. Mr. Kenan says logistics is going to continue to be important until we have teleportation. Well, take a look at all major innovations like Amazon and Alibaba.com. These are really outstanding examples where innovation stands out. So could you please talk about your own experience? Mr. Moderator, dear participants, I would like to greet you warmly before starting my words. Welcome to the Uludağ Economy Summit. Mr. Moderator wanted to start the session with the topic of logistics. I would like to thank him for giving me the floor. I represent PTT, the Turkish Postal Service, and we are, as you may appreciate, deal with a lot of logistics. But perhaps I should kind of inform you about what PTT does. 1 year ago, when I started my job, there was this deputy of parliament from the opposing party who visited me. He asked me about what PTT does. I said, well, we do whatever we are asked of us. PTT, of course, is a flag bearer of logistics for Turkey. But at the meantime, we are operating in a lot of different topics. We have actually more than 200 fields of activity, and our history dates back 176 years ago. This means we were in the past of this country and we will surely be in the future. We are a great value, an asset for this nation. Mainly, we have postal services, cargo and freight transportation, and we also offer banking services, to name a few of the primary services we offer. Logistics is also another one of the hats we wear. As the moderators put it, we are living in a changing world and the technology is advancing rapidly. All products that are manufactured in this environment are usually following the trend of being delivered straight out of the factory to the doorstep of the consumer. In that regard, we need to understand what kind of function we have to undertake. Well, my saying was already mentioned. I will utter it once again. As long as there is no teleportation, logistics will continue to be important. While doing this, we will try to also share our experience with the world. In Turkey, we are collaborating with various parties like the Turkish Telecom Company. We have some common real estate properties, for example. There are other examples of collaboration underway which will make sure that we open up to the world. In the future, you will probably see PTT not only as a single company, but as a group of companies. So far, we have been serving our citizens really well. At 4,500 people, we are delivering postal services to 81 million people. In the next 5 years, we hope to increase our service points to 15,000. Our ultimate goal is to make sure that every single Turkish citizen, once they are out of their house or workplace, can access a PTT service point. At this point, we realize that our wide range of service and products are essential in terms of increasing welfare among our citizens, because we are doing something essential in their lives. But we are not only considering the importance of our clients, because we are universally doing more than postal services. In the upcoming periods, logistics and e-trade are going to be two of the areas where we will be pretentious and challenging as an opponent for other companies. So if you allow me, I am going to point out one thing before I end my words. While working on our e-trade platform, we conducted the World Postal Congress last year. There, our country was elected, of course under the name of PTT, as the chairman of the board of the World Postal Union. This is a great opportunity, to be honest. This position can benefit us greatly in terms of promoting our own activities and our country. Although it has been only 5 months in the position of chairman, we have already undersigned cooperation agreements with 30 states. The number is going to increase only. And in only 8 months, we have increased our e-commerce activities by 85%. The climbing up of our progress is as steep as these in other areas too, but I'm going to end my words right now. If we go for a second round of questions, I will go on. Thank you. Mr. Tankut, we were having dinner with you last evening and we were talking about how beards became popular. I mean, once something becomes popular, everybody adopts it really well. So what about you? Are you keeping up with the changes and popular trends? Well, that was a really fine example, as a matter of fact. In your rooms, you probably have found our brochures about shaving technologies and what we do as Gillette to satisfy our consumers. We have the flexible technology, for example, and the next advancement of that technology is going to be presented to you. In order for people to like shaving once again, we have come up with this chain in America that is called Art of Shaving. Before that, we conducted a research, and we have found that 2/3 of all women preferred shaven faces on men. See, Gillette consumers already give me a round of applause. They want fully shaved faces, by the way, you are asking from the audience. Well, innovation should not stop at any time. You know, P&G has a history of 180 years. It was founded in 1937. The main reason we still survive is that we have always understood the critical importance of innovation. But the spirit of innovation changes. Maybe right now your product is out of trend, but innovation can help you get back on track. We have three perspectives of innovation. First, we have brand innovation. In our portfolio, you will see a serious level of brand value. Our assets, when gathered together, receive a fine boost due to the brand value. The second perspective of innovation would be in your working culture, workplace culture, or how you may call it. And then third innovation perspective is what you can do with your employees' lives. For example, this week we have came up with a Prima wearable diaper that is worn by the baby, just like an underpant. If you have a lively baby that is really active, it is going to make things a lot easier for you to manage him or her. Mothers would know. Half of their time is spent chasing their children, their babies. They have to make a serious effort to change their diapers. This underpant diaper that we have come up with is going to make things easier for them. But it is also leak-free. Even their fathers will be able to change this diaper. It is so convenient. This is an innovation, for example. It creates value among customers. If I go back to brand innovation, again, a brand's innovation should create value for the consumers too. I'm not saying any new thing is going to count as innovation. In all the countries we are conducting business, we are constantly consulting the opinions of our consumers in order to evade this fundamental mistake. Well, we have these research and development teams and engineers who are powerful in their areas, but sometimes they don't realize that they get lost in technology but forget about giving thought about the needs of the consumer. So our market research departments stay close to the consumer, listen to them all the time so that our innovations are valuable. Can I step in here? I will have two questions for you. Well, we need elderly patients and their diapers. Well, this market, these patient diapers and elderly diapers are a growing need. We have a large old population. People beyond the age of 50 are over the population of Belgium, for example. Well, of course, we need innovation at that point too. Already there are some firms generating activity in that area. Of course, go on. You can ask your question. So why are these Turkish babies so lively, so active? What is the reason? Maybe it is because they are nurtured really well. I don't know. Well, probably they don't even reach their limits when it comes to using up diapers. Well, that's a fine point, but let us put aside the diapers. I would like to talk a little bit about hair cream, for instance. Some women did not use them because they believed the cream pressed the hair down and decreased the volume. Recently, we conducted innovation in that area too, and we have smart hair foam right now. The hair cream is in format, and it only deposits in areas needed. It does not decrease the volume of your hair. If I am going to go on in the second round of questions, I will have some more things to say. Well, you can go on. It's free for you to go on for another 2 minutes. Well, as the topic is next-gen innovation, maybe I should go back to the innovation among employees. Employees have to be really happy about their workplace for a better performance. 80% of our employees are coming from the Generation Y, and 30% of them only recently joined our firm. So to address them, we have created a team which created a new employment and workplace culture to meet their needs. For example, right now I don't have an office, I don't have a desk. Nobody in the office does, as a matter of fact, because we want to create a campus environment for these Generation Y members. So from a 9-floor building, we transition to a 2-floor building right now to make them feel more comfortable in our company. Of course, it's a little bit cramped up because we are working only on 2 floors right now, but people really like it. They see each other, they come face to face. Otherwise, in that old building, probably they wouldn't see each other in months, as long as different departments did not each other. They engage in dialogues. A synergy happens too, right? Of course. Well, it has been only 3 months, and even I have been working better than I used to. I don't have any spare time because the environment doesn't allow it. It's so active and enjoyable. This is just another example I wanted to put on the table. You can innovate the environment for employees too.
Mr. Mohammed, I have a problem, and my problem is as follows. I like your yogurt so much. I like your creamy yogurt so much. I'm addicted to it. I hope God gives the same problem to everyone. But my problem is I don't have time to eat it. Okay, I will not make advertisement, I promised already. No, I'm not trying to advertise your product. There are those smart cows that you call it. There is the Industry 4. The machines are speaking to each other. The milking machines are speaking to each other. So can you think that the machines will automatically send me some yogurt when I'm out of yogurt because I'm consuming all the time and I don't have the time to buy it from the market?
Bu iş hız demek.
Well, this is about speed. In order to, solve this problem, you have your mobile phone. When we are out of this session, I will give you the address from your mobile phone. You can give your order, no problem. First of all, hello to everyone. I am so happy to be here once again, and I would like to extend my gratitude to each and every one of you. Before initiating my speech, I also would like to say about my wish. But before that, I would like to thank Capital and Economist magazines for their contribution, and I wish Uludağ Economy Summit will continue many years, because with thanks to you, you are creating such a platform in which the minds and the hearts are connecting to each other. Well, distinguished moderator, in the session under the title of New Generation Era, if we are about to speak about such new generation of innovation, next generation of innovation, let me correct it, I believe we have to define the standards of the innovation. With the good R&D engineers and with the collaboration of the entrepreneurs, we might be successful. But up until now, these were the issues that made the difference. But right now, this is not enough. With a single mind, with a single perspective, it will be not enough for you to implement innovation. If you want to implement innovation, we have to think all together and we have to act all together. As Mr. Tankut said already, the working environment should be converted into interactive places. That is why we need it, and it is not going to be enough even after that. We should also cooperate with our stakeholders, and we should meet with our stakeholders as possible as we can. This platform is providing us new ideas. Maybe it contributed us to develop new ideas. And inside our organizations, we should establish innovation committees. Our internal teams and our external stakeholders should come together in those platforms that we have established. With the current technology, such platforms can be developed easily, and the ones who actually accomplishes it will be taking the lead in the market, or they will be appreciated even more by the market forces. In the past, everybody was trying to make the washing machines more efficient. Everybody was trying to make washing machines to consume less water, but the people right now are asking for clean clothes. So, I will, of course, try to solve your creamy yogurt urge, and I will speak about the smart cows and my solution for your urge for your creamy yogurt in the next round. Don't worry. So with this new generation, the next generation of innovation, we should understand each other and we should provide the solution all together. And developing such platforms will be the first step that we have to take. Technology provides us such opportunities and we should make use of them. After this collaborative working culture, we should also work with the courageous people and entrepreneurs, and I believe that those people who have the courage of expressing their ideas will lead us to innovations, and we should also provide platforms for them to express their ideas freely. So the platform that we created should indeed facilitate the expression of the ideas. I mean, what I'm saying might seem quite simple, but when it comes to implement it, it is not very easy, because as the people gather together, they all listen to each other. They do not speak And as the managers, I believe this is my work. I don't have an office, by the way. I'm not working in my office right now. We have a meeting room. There is a square type of meeting table. It has the capacity of 12 people, by the way. I'm always there, and always somebody visits me, and we are speaking with the groups. Otherwise, I cannot solve any problem on my own. I always need the feedback from another person. I'm never out of this room. And by the way, I didn't choose the most luxurious room just because it is meeting room. I'm working in the shadows because this room doesn't receive sunlight. But we should give a courage and opportunity for people to speak freely. This is really important. And we have to reach to a common perspective if we want to innovate. And then, in order to experience those ideas, we should give the opportunities to the courageous and entrepreneur people. I'm not only speaking about the production chains, I'm also speaking about the distribution processes. I'm also speaking about the marketing processes. I'm always saying to my employees, just try and try. Go to a market, go to a city, just try it, and then come and speak about the results. Otherwise, if you don't try, it only means that you share your dream with me. If you try, then you can come to me and speak about the results. Let me step in with your permission. You said there is a saying that three things is never out of fashion. One of them is smiling, the other one is trying, and the other one is being patient. These three things are never out of fashion, and these three things are leading us to the success. Well, how to put it, the ideas and the feedbacks coming from the stakeholders and the customers should be taken into consideration, and we should try in accordance with the feedbacks that are coming from our stakeholders. And we should actually opt for the creative paths rather than the cliché paths. I mean, we shouldn't meet just for the sake of meeting. With unusual ways, we should actually develop this collaboration, and I believe then we can reach to this next generation of innovation. And this is inevitable. It is not possible to avoid it. And with the opportunities that are bestowed to us with the technology, the customers are already pushing us with their expectations. In the past, what you produce are indeed introduced by you to the customers, and we were claiming that we are satisfying your needs. If the customer has that kind of a need, then they were buying your product. But right now, the customers are saying that I have a need, but you should understand what my need is, and you should develop your products according to that. This is the customer type that we are facing with. It is a challenging job, but we have to be patient. And we have to commit ourselves to this world. This is the new world. Thank you very much. If you give me the permission, I also would like to help you with this yogurt issue. Muharrem Bey will produce the yogurts, and from a single point, we can distribute your yogurts to you. And whenever your yogurt is over, don't worry, I will just bring the yogurt to your doorstep. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Perfect. Whenever we visit big companies, there is such a philosophy that I would like to quote. What we are going to do is indeed decide that not by the senior management, but by the employees. So the involvement of such people in the decision-making process matters. If you are seeking for something new, then you have to share your dreams and ideas with all of your workers. Each holding, of course, have some holding meetings, and we are trying to develop a social responsibility projects like planting new trees or helping the education and such. Of course, we also have some young employees, and our young employees said that maybe we can turn this program into a social innovation program, and they came to us. Their names were Kerem, Aslı, and 4 young employees of us came to us and they proposed us a project. And they told us, let's develop a social innovation platform. Because there are bunches of ideas, there are many different ideas, but if you collect all of those ideas under a single platform, then you might reach to some values which might be appreciated by all the minds. And we say, okay, they worked on that project, and they would like to define this platform with a name, and we call it İmece. This is quite traditional for the Turkish culture. It means collective work, especially in the rural areas. It is totally compliant with the traditional Turkish culture. And this was a platform in which the social issues were discussed, and as our holding, we will continue supporting this social innovation platform. A remarkable project came out, by the way, from this platform. And during this incubation period, we gave financial support to such projects. And I believe that this collective work platform, this social innovation platform, will be implemented not only in Turkey, but also outside of the Turkey. And I believe this platform will be a role model. And we have 2 important guests who will talk about them, Marcelo, and we have Efosa as well. And I will give the floor to them one by one. The social problems, as you know, dear friends, are not solved only with the states or only with the individuals. The more people you are involved in the process, the more you share those social problems, then those problems will be solved much more easily. Marcelo, it's your time.
And tell us about Thank you very much. So, innovation. I'm glad to be here in Turkey. So 2 things. One is I'm actually on the board of this İmece. So thanks to my friends Kerem and Kerem to have invited me. I have been a young entrepreneur. My father started a company in Italy. I was at university in London. And it's very interesting because the company originally was in heavy chemicals and lubricants. And about end of the 70s, beginning of the 80s, I was, a student then, and my father and I created a whole new line of products, laboratories and kits to test the quality of water and soil. Because we thought, hey, here there is an issue. A lot of the farming land was getting polluted, and we spotted a business opportunity, and we created a company that was very successful, which I ran. I ran the international company from London for 13 years. And this was my kind of beginning of working as an entrepreneur. I was very passionate. I'm still very passionate. And what I've done later, after we sold the company, I started a foundation. And the foundation has really been working around the idea that entrepreneurship is the basis of humanity. Without entrepreneurs, we will still be living in caves. We will be eating with our hands. So everything that we have around us, technology, products, yogurt, is all the result of entrepreneurs. But the real interesting focus for me was how do you actually direct this energy, this creativity towards issues that also touch society. So, and here, even here now in this session, I heard things like a new way of working. You know, Procter & Gamble is either having, you know, different kinds of offices, which maybe that's a good idea for all offices, government offices and NGOs offices, to actually work in a more open innovation ways. Or there are other ways. I know a company, Danone, for example, Danone in France or globally, they have created a department called Danone Communities, where actually employees of Danone work on, with governments, with cities, in what can they do to meet some of the challenges that cities and citizens face, et cetera, et cetera. So my work has been, in the last few years, I've created this group of companies called the B Corps, the Best for the World companies. I've created it in Europe, from Amsterdam. We now have 2,065 B Corps around the world, from Kickstarter, Patagonia, Danone. It's basically what's driving us is using entrepreneurship as a positive force to find solutions to the challenges that we all have. Transportation, energy, sustainability, et cetera, et cetera. So this is what I really believe in. Secondly, I've been nominated chairman of SIX. SIX is the Worldwide Social Innovation Exchange, with about 6,000 innovators from around the world. And my kind of new direction I'm trying to give SIX is actually how do we get more businesses involved in helping all of us unlock these solutions that often come within companies but don't easily get outside of companies. So I think every company is always innovating. In a way, you know, this is the essence of being a business. You have to be dynamic, you have to look at opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. And just here, this is something that was presented yesterday, Better Business, Better World, and halfway through, there is a whole chart of all the opportunities that come from the so-called Sustainable Development Goals. So here you have health and well-being, energy, cities, food and agriculture. It's divided into sub-themes. So here you have, and I think someone I know wrote a book about the $10 trillion opportunity of solving some of these challenges. So if you want to have more sustainable cities, better food, renewable energy, these are all business opportunities. So the work I do now with the B Corps and with SIX is actually how do we help all of us, society, to unlock many of these ideas that are within companies that often do not get promoted or known outside of companies. So I think that businesses can be very instrumental in sharing the innovation that goes on within these companies for the benefit of society in general. And then a couple more things. So actually, I'm really happy to be in Turkey because 20 years ago, my foundation organized the World Business Forum for Habitat 2, which was actually then quite new. We were able to get 320 business leaders to come to Istanbul to work with governments, to work with civil society on sustainable cities. Because, you know, you cannot do this without business. So business is central to the sort of innovation that society needs. So my message here is, first, let's look into all our companies. What are the innovation that goes on in our companies that also has a spillover, a benefit for society, and let's kind of share this innovation. And secondly, as some of the other participants have said, you know, from early on, we all have to work together. You know, some of these issues are systemic issues. So how can companies work with cities, with governments, with civil society, with foundations, because that's where the biggest opportunities are. And you know, this morning there was this gentleman, Devan, who really said something very, very important. That is, when you get multidisciplinary teams together from different competencies and sectors, that's where you really get creativity going. And there is actually the benefit of working across these sectors. You know, people who are specialists in education or in health or in food or in waste, energy, working together with the entrepreneurs, and then keeping an eye on what can this be, how can this be used for the benefit of wider society? And then finally, we all live in the world together. The world is so small. We're all interconnected. And only if we really look at the impact we can have, the positive impact, that is the best way to actually ensure that not only our little companies or big companies or where we live are good for well-being, but also our cities and our countries are for well-being. So businesses cannot flourish and thrive in a society that is not thriving. So we are all connected in that sense. I think business can play a very big part in there. So I wish this platform Image a lot of success. And I think that from my perspective, now I have this kind of global role within the B Corps. I can bring some of the companies, international companies that are in Turkey, to be more engaged on these issues and work with all of you on these sort of solutions. So thank you very much.
Teşekkür ederiz. Thank you. Şimdi tabii bu sosyal inovasyon ve yeni nesil inovasyon konularına girince bir takım yeni
of course new concepts are emerging. Mr. Efosa Oyomo, if I pronounce it right. Together with Efosa Oyomo, we were speaking, and he came from a very long distance, and he will travel once again tomorrow. As we were speaking with him, he gave me a Mexico example today. And he said, while making an innovation, disruptive innovation, let me correct it, should be the basis. I mean, you have the chance of creating something, at the same time disrupting it.
Tell us about this destructive innovation. What is it? And can you tell about the samples? And what kind of companies or groups can face this destructive innovation? Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Let me start by saying Tunaydin. Is that good afternoon? All right. That's all the that's all the Turkish I know.
It's your first time in Turkey.
First time in Turkey. But it's an honor to be here. I'd love to tell you a story about disruptive innovation. It's probably one of the most misused terms in the business language. About 20 years ago, in 1997, one of my professors, Professor Clay Christensen at Harvard Business School, wrote a book. The book is called The Innovator's Dilemma. And it has gone down in history as one of the most important and influential books. In fact, some of you, would know the late Steve Jobs, the co-founder and CEO of Apple. He said that was one of the few books that he read, and it greatly influenced him in building his company. As you know, Apple is, I think, the most valuable company in the world. And so it's going to pay to understand what disruptive innovation really means. Disruptive innovation is not really a breakthrough innovation or a radical innovation or even more technologically advanced innovation. Disruptive innovations start out typically at the low end of an industry, and they serve customers who have historically been overserved by the major players in the industry. Or they serve what we call non-consumers. And so these are people who the existing products on the market are too expensive or too complicated. And so disruptive innovations come in and they target these people and they buy the products. Now, when you think about the impact that disruptive innovations can have in a society, it's very significant. It can have significant social change. And so my guess is that everybody in the room has a small computer in their pockets. Now, I'll tell you a story about the computing industry. About 50 or 60 years ago, the only people, or institutions really, who could afford computers were big government agencies or big universities. They were mainframe computers and very expensive. So IBM made a computer, a mainframe computer, and several other companies. Many of those companies we don't even know of today. But over time, disruptive innovations came into the picture, and computers got smaller and smaller. And the technology in those computers, when they started out, they were not as good as the mainframe computers, and they cost a lot less money. But over time, they got better and better, up to the point now where about 2.3 billion people in the world now have a smartphone and now use a computer. Now you have to ask yourself a question. Why did the big players in that industry, in the computing industry, not get involved with these products? You know, why didn't they innovate and develop smartphones? Why isn't IBM making a smartphone? Remember, I told you, Apple is the most valuable company in the world today. About 40% of its revenues come from smartphones. And so it's a big market. Samsung has much more market share than Apple in the global sphere of smartphones. So why did those players come into this market, not the big players? Now, this is the question that my professor, Professor Christensen, tried to understand in the book that he wrote. Now, many people said it's because, you know, the managers in these big companies, they fell asleep on the wheels, as we say. Or these big companies, they just didn't see the technology coming, and so they couldn't quite catch up. Well, based on his research, he found out that that wasn't really the case. It turns out that as you get bigger, as your company gets bigger and bigger, you see the technology coming, but because you've developed a business model that does not find less expensive products attractive, then you're actually willing to forego it and let other companies come into the market. And so this is a cautionary tale for some of the big companies in the room today. It's that you want to make sure that you're watching for these smaller companies that are developing products that you may feel don't have enough features, don't serve your best customers well. Because the one thing that's going to happen is those products are going to get better and better, and that's how you get disrupted. So there's three features of a disruptive innovation. The first is it has to leverage an enabling technology. And so technologies by themselves are not really disruptive. They're neither here nor there. But a disruptive innovation has to leverage an enabling technology like the internet, the microprocessor, efficient logistic systems. And so companies like Amazon can only function because there are efficient logistic systems. So you leverage an enabling technology. The second thing is you have to have an innovative business model. Now, this innovative business model is one that you develop so that even the least customers or the people who can't afford the existing products in the market are going to find your products attractive. If we go back to the mainframe examples, think of if you were a manager at IBM in the 1960s. A mainframe computer cost about $2 million, and your profit margins were about 50%. So you'd make $1 million for your company if you sold one. A personal computer or a smartphone would cost what? $600, $700? Imagine going to your manager and saying, "Excuse me, sir, or ma'am, I would like us to spend millions of dollars to go into this business." You may get fired because the business model that your organization has set up is not innovative enough to make money selling these less expensive products. And the last feature of the disruptive innovation is a value network. And so you have to create a new value network, or what we would call a new value chain or a supply chain, because as a small company coming in, if you don't create a new value network, what that means is you're going to absorb the cost structure of the existing companies in the business. And so you're not really going to be differentiated in your offering. And so disruptive innovations have significant social impact, right? Right from the start, when Henry Ford, the American innovator who developed the Model T car that made cars available to the average Americans, down to today, where many of us have smartphones. These innovations impact society significantly. And so my challenge to you is think about businesses and sectors that haven't changed for a while. And so energy, for instance, is going to be ripe for disruption very soon. Education hasn't changed since I can remember. The healthcare field, retail businesses are going to be ripe for disruption, because there's going to come a time when, like our big boss and moderator here said, when we all want our yogurt, all we're going to have to do is push a button and it's going to come meet us. We're no longer going to go to the store to actually purchase things. That time is soon coming. And so as you're developing business models, I would challenge you to think about sectors that haven't quite changed for a while and see how you can leverage enabling technology to help your organizations create disruptive innovations. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 20 dakikamız var. Dolayısıyla
we have got 20 more minutes to go. Therefore, I am going to allocate 4 minutes to each of you. Well, we can't conduct a Q&A session, so we will go on talking among each other. Well, you come from an international company. So how did you generate innovation from the bottom up? Can you please enlighten us a little bit?
Teşekkürler. İlk bölümde iki alanı konuştuk.
In the first part, I mainly talked about brand innovation and brand innovation spread over employees, affecting your culture. The previous panelist has already talked about some valuable points. Digitalization is rampant, and it indicates that we will have to renovate ourselves really well. Both the retail sector and fast-moving goods industry are ripe for innovation. So how do we perceive it? First of all, throughout 180 years, we have realized that the business model has always changed. We could only survive by adapting and modifying ourselves all the time. For instance, P&G started as a candle manufacturer because in 1837 there was a problem with electricity and blackouts all the time. So we touched that problem. During the Civil War of the USA, P&G became the primary candle supplier of the northern side. Then Edison came and candles became meaningless. Therefore, at that point, we dropped candles and started manufacturing products like soap bars, etc. When it comes to digitalization, the current situation that we are facing, I know that if P&G believes that e-commerce is a great channel of work, probably this 180-year-old business will have to adopt it as a business model. What I mean is that digitalization and the global challenge it is creating is something that we need to adapt to. This means e-trade, e-commerce cannot be merely thought of as a sales channel, a distribution channel. The entire business model of the company should be redesigned to adapt to it, both on the global side and in Turkey. Just like you said, products need to be delivered to the customer as soon as possible. Other than that, companies should be able to offer customization options. In the USA, for example, we have a Matrai platform where you are able to customize your shampoo needs, for example. We have triple capsules that we can mix around in order to give you what you need exactly. This is not just offering a product, it's an experience. Again, on the Gillette side, we are redesigning our razors and customizing the handles. Depending on the emerging technologies, we do whatever is necessary. We have this other group which is working on making our every single product obsolete. I mean, it sounds crazy because you wouldn't want to make your product obsolete, but if we can predict how our products will be obsolete, we will evade the wave of disruptive innovation. Let me give you an example. In 1998 and until 2000, I was working in the eastern parts. In Uzbekistan, there was a research team that I had the opportunity to talk about. They were conducting a research about these baby cradles. We have them traditionally too, you know, those handmade cradles. The child would have a portable potty attached to the cradle, and these people were trying to understand whether this cradle system, which was traditional, could replace diapers. This was an interesting example too, about making your product obsolete and recreating it. It's a way of protecting yourself against disruption and creating new business models. The e-commerce channel is really advancing fast. Almost 5% of our business is running on the e-commerce channel right now. Some companies have transferred almost 10% of their business over to the digital arena. But I believe that some of the companies surrounding us, competing in the same environment or competing in other industries, are not embracing it really well. So we established a group that involves startups too. We are taking a look at how other companies around the world are using digitalization. We have this K-Works system, which is a software platform, an incubation platform, in which we can utilize fresh ideas. If this platform can be successful, if we can succeed in it, we will not only have given startups the 180-year-old experience of P&G, but also new ideas that they can capitalize on. Mr. Muharrem, so what about you? For instance, outside the factory, are you able to create new ideas with your dealerships and consumers? Thank you for the question, but I have one question too. Just a minute ago, the yogurt business was mentioned again. Our foreign guest made a mention. He said there will come a day when you will only press a button and you will have yogurt at your doorstep. So, but there is a problem. Are you going to be at home when it is delivered? So what are we going to do about that? Or would you like me to track your location on your smartphone so that I know whether you are at home or not? This is an issue too, isn't it? See, once you think about it, new grounds are broken. Innovation gives rise to another innovation. Well, probably some people will be willing. I mean, they don't have state secrets to hide, do they? Well, while state is mentioned, I think we need state support to do something like that too. But if I go back to my question, are you consulting opinions from people outside the company, like youngsters? Well, that is true, it is possible, but you need to create an environment where you can benefit from other people's minds. Your management should not be a sitting lion, but a roaming elephant. You need just that. You should go out, venture, and collect ideas and inspirations. Let's say we should go to Bingöl and see what kind of local cheese they are producing. Maybe we can take the formula and turn it into a convenient modern formula. Off the top of my head, this is just an idea. Before coming up with redundant investments, you need to make sure that a new product, an innovation, not just a new product, is actually needed or is going to be feasible, not for you only, but also for the consumer. Meanwhile, as we deal with innovation, we are also trying to optimize our supply process, starting from the pieces of grass that a cow eats. We are working mainly on that value chain, and we are trying to innovate it. For instance, right now, we are thinking on generating electricity from the manure we generate at farmhouses. In the end, we are also considering whether we are going to be able to reuse that manure for agricultural purposes and whether it will still generate quality grass and then, in turn, quality milk. This gives us other thoughts about whether humidity of the soil and our irrigation is going to have an impact on the amount of manure we will have to use on a certain piece of land. This makes it necessary for us to go on with resource planning, for instance. Well, to reach that goal, to deliver yogurt to your doorstep, we are taking these small steps. But innovation is all about these little steps, I believe, so that the gears keep turning. So, Marcello.
I'm very well. I'm enjoying it, and I can. So you have a question? Otherwise, I want to say something.
No, you can say. I have a question. Now, with these social innovation platforms, how can you make the government to join effectively?
Okay. So, in my ideal world, governments become much more strategic and less controlling, because actually the system's perspective says, hey, creativity comes from businesses, also from NGOs, but you know, this is not about this country. I was in China, in Beijing on Tuesday and Wednesday. You know, in the Netherlands where I live, the same kind of issue, that over the last 50, 60 years, our governments have grown, and we have a lot of bureaucracies, and you know, bureaucracies are not very creative. So how do we get the creativity going? And I think governments need to be a bit more strategic and understand that their power will grow if they can really get companies and NGOs and foundations to liberate their innovation. Ultimately, everyone will benefit. Governments too will benefit. So we can get more sustainable cities. We can get, you know, the challenges we know, aging, education. This morning, education was discussed. That someone said education has not changed for 50 years. How do we get education to change? Well, we need entrepreneurs. So we need government that understand that entrepreneurs can actually create that innovation. So my appeal, which I say everywhere in the world, even in the United States, is actually for governments to take on that role of being a kind of incubators of ideas, but let companies and NGOs create those ideas. It's a big shift, and of course some governments are faster than others. I mean, for example, what was discussed in Beijing a lot was the case of Singapore. This morning also Devan talked about Singapore. Singapore is a very interesting case where governments have understood that, in fact, the real creativity and the investments, important investments, because we need money to do these things, come from the private sector. And therefore, the Singapore government is one of the most active in the world in understanding that they want to work with businesses and investors. And, there comes a point where their role shift away. They let innovation flourish without them always being involved or controlling. So this is one issue. The other issue I was thinking about is actually that a lot of power is in bringing different companies and different sectors together to look at a particular issue. So here, we have the Post company and we have P&G. This is the kind of, collaboration that is very fruitful. Within this group of companies called the B Corps that I'm involved in, we have a case now of 5 companies in California. So Patagonia, Beneficial State Bank, Kickstarter, and 2 banks. They got together, they assembled $50 million, and they created, in a sort of city in California, a total solar energy supply, so that city has become totally renewable energy. And this was just, 5 companies together do this. And this is enormous potential. Anywhere in the world, companies get together, they look at what the issues are, and in a kind of investment, so this is not about charity, this is about investing in finding solution for your society. So these 2 things, much more strategic government, much more kind of enabling government, and companies actually starting to work with each other on these issues. Because, sometimes, of course, companies also compete with each other, but here is where there is a potential to create value for everyone.
Thank you.
Rakip olarak mücadele edecektir ama bir araya gelmeleri de güzel sonuçlar yaratır.
Türk Hava Yolları hikayemiz çok başarılı.
Nice story of Turkish Airlines, a successful story that I would like to provide as an example.
Çok dinamikler var.
In Turkey, we have lots of dynamics to take into consideration to be successful, to get to that point, to create added value. Of course, logistics matters a lot in that regard. So, during this process of development, what kind of value process do you think should be consulted? I should mention that the panelists before me have already mentioned things which are already involved in the action plan of PTT. This tells us that our company is on the correct path. In all of our activities, our primary goal is to solve a problem, a social problem mainly. But back to your question, it is also really important. We are also trying to become a global brand, just like Turkish Airlines. We are not only following in their footsteps, but we are also taking our own initiatives. The plans include managing logistics incoming to Turkey from all around the world and managing logistics within the country. A serious effort is allocated to creating the infrastructure needed for that all around the world. We are collaborating with logistics firms. Well, I can't name a company that would be an advertisement, but I can tell you that one large international logistics company has entrusted their operations to us, and likewise they are conducting our operations in Europe. In China, we are, in collaboration with Turkish Airlines, dealing with logistics needs of major shopping centers. Istanbul is our hub. From there, we send goods and receive goods from other sides of the world. So I can say that we are not only contributing to our society, but we are also opening up to the world, doing something meaningful. In that regard, our state has really given us lots of opportunities. They have offered us lots of incentives. There is also this one project that we have come up with in order to ensure collaboration among different parties. It is called Registered Electronic Postal System. It is a paper-free communication system, a product which is soon going to be used by different corporations but also citizens. This will be adopted and it will be a service that generates added value. So, as I conclude my words, I would like to thank Capital for the organization and the audience for listening to us. Zamanımız bitti. Sizden son sözleri alalım.
My last words are going to be very brief.
Ben de çok kısaca son sözlerimi söyleyeyim o zaman. Bu salonda bulunan inovatörler olarak devletin size sunmadığı hizmetlerden şikayet etmek yerine inovasyon üzerine düşünürsek Türkiye'nin önünde alacak çok yol yok. Dünyanın en iyi ülkelerinden biri haline gelebilir.
Çok teşekkür ederiz. Çok güzel bir panel oldu. Günlerimiz de iyi geçti. Bütün katılımcılara huzurunuzda teşekkür ediyorum. Herkese başarılar.
Biz de çok teşekkür ediyoruz tüm konuşmacılara.